Our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-885-3333. That's 800-885-3333. 800-885-3333.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway, where right now you can get 1,050 square feet of carpet installed for $19.95. Only at H&H Carpets in Montgomery.
Rich Thomas Weather.
All in all, pretty good weather news as we end January and begin February. As our new milder pattern begins, a good bit of sunshine today with a high temperature near 60, partly cloudy tonight, down to 40 for the overnight low temperature. We'll be in the upper 60s on Wednesday and Thursday with a sun and cloud mix. Friday's high 74, risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday afternoon, Friday night. On Saturday, there could be an isolated shower left over, perhaps high 68, and we'll tease 70 degrees by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
You can make your ASE loan payment from your phone, anytime, anywhere. It's quick and easy. YourASECreditUnion.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
ASE Credit Union. Your life, your goals, your ASE.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program. Welcome. A lot to get to today. But as always, I love beginning the show on Tuesdays with the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, how you doing today?
Oh, you're so kind, Joey. I'm fine, thank you. And I love being with you on Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah, it's a good start to the day. So, number one, because it's not just all love for one political team or the other. I like that you think through from, let's say, first principles, as well as a wealth of experience. Now, I want to ask one thing that's strange, because I know we have limited time today. I just got word that it looks like their Senate Intelligence Committee is considering voting on the Tulsi Gabbard nomination in a secret SCIF. What say you to that?
I am not surprised. The intelligence community has so imbued their regulators in the Senate Intelligence Committee and the House Intelligence Committee with a mania for secrecy that they'll discuss the Eagles Commanders game in the SCIF for fear that somebody might mention something that would embarrass the discussants. This is outrageous. They should interrogate her in public and vote in public. They are our elected representatives. How can they know something and vote on something and we don't know what they know or how they voted? It's antithetical to democracy.
It's really insane. And as much as Tulsi softening her position on 702 raised red flags for, I think, both of us, it seems like she didn't soften enough for the likes of, I believe, Susan Collins' name has been thrown out there, that they seem to think if we have problems because of Fourth Amendment concerns, that we don't want to catch bad guys with spying. Is this really what people believe in your experience with folks, or is it?
Yes, it is what they believe. They believe that the Fourth Amendment is an obstacle to good government. The Fourth Amendment is an intentional obstacle to allowing the people in government to do whatever they want, because their first oath is to the Constitution, and the Fourth Amendment is an integral part of it. It is the quintessentially American right to be left alone. It presumes that personal privacy trumps, no pun intended, national security.
And yet, we'll see. This is one where you might disagree, but if the Senate just doesn't want to play ball with this, I think Tulsi should be maybe, a recess appointment, because I love the idea of the position held by James Clapper, that liar who lied about what Snowden eventually revealed.
Right.
Put Tulsi in there at least for an interim period. because I think if they're going to play hardball, Trump needs to play hardball on this issue.
I don't know. I don't know what Trump would do. There'd be an issue about whether or not she could even be compensated after she had been rejected. There'd be an issue of whether the Senate would even go into recess. The recess has to be 10 days long. I don't know how that would work. By and large, I hope she is confirmed because I think she's the best we're going to get. And maybe she'll see her way back to where she used to be on 702. But the concept of doing this in secrecy is totalitarian, Joey.
Absolutely. Absolutely totalitarian. And so now I want to move before you have to go. The doomsday clock was just moved to 89 seconds to midnight. Part of me is like, okay, I already knew this stuff, or y'all just looking for attention. But I think it is helpful in this sense. There's a lot of folks, especially, say, Americans who voted for Trump, was like, okay, he's got a new approach. We're going to solve all these problems, get out of all these wars. Especially from your interviews with folks on your show, what say you? Is Trump and team like ready to go to solve the problems, say Russia, Ukraine, Israel, and Gaza, and everything else coming in front of us?
I was crushed to hear Trump talk about moving 1.5 million Palestinians to Jordan or Egypt or maybe Indonesia. He almost manifests the same antipathy towards the personal freedom and the natural rights of the Palestinian people that Joe Biden did. I don't know where it's going to go. I wish he wouldn't look on Gaza as a real estate developer, but as the most powerful person on the planet who has the power to right profound wrongs like the genocide that's been visited on those poor people. But if he thinks he's going to push all of them out and then have his son-in-law develop that real estate, that's reprehensible.
And then on Russia and Ukraine, he sounds like I can use oil. I can use the price of oil to really squeeze the Russians here.
The Kremlin is laughing at that. Nothing will squeeze them until the resistance to their efforts to rid Ukraine of NATO or anything NATO-like are successful, and they're within weeks of being successful.
So, maybe the Atomic Bulletin of Scientists has a point moving the clock a second closer. Because I've been trying to tell folks, you might be happy, especially if you voted for Trump here in Alabama. A lot of people happy. But events always seem to drive the car, no matter who's in charge of our governments or political institutions. And we'll see what's the next shoe to drop. I know you got to run. I always appreciate your time. And if folks want to check out Judging Freedom, YouTube, or anywhere else you would suggest?
Oh, I just had Ambassador Freeman and Charles Freeman and Max Blumenthal. Remaining today are Karen Kwiatkowski and Matt Ho. And for the remainder of the week, Jeff Sachs, Colonel McGregor, Professor Mearsheimer, my Class A people. But thank you for mentioning it, Joey, and thanks for having me on the show. Look forward to seeing you next week. You'll like my column this week, which you'll have in about an hour.
Oh, thank you, sir. Well, I'm looking forward to that then already. Thanks, Judge.
You're welcome.
Again, folks, that's the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano. A lot to get to today, but how about this? I came in early, opened up the show early. Let's hit this break. Hit 1819 News. From Andrea Tice. Let's listen in.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
1819 News.
Well, the new Miss America, who is a native of Alabama and currently a student at Auburn University, is now talking about her faith on national television. Abby Stockard was on Fox News saying that she is certain that her crowning as Miss America was heaven sent.
I am very driven by my faith based off the morals and the values that my family taught me. I believe that every single person is called to make a difference. I believe we were all created on purpose for a purpose. And so while it is so amazing to have this platform of influence and be an ambassador for this organization, my main mission is to use this title to serve others. I think our world is broken. I think it is polarized and divided. And I want to be a light, and I want to be an inspiration. And I want to make every single person feel seen, valued, and appreciated, because that is who the Lord is. That's what he would want me to do.
I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Brian Dawson here, CEO of 1819 News. I'm also the host of 1819 News, the podcast, and we'd love for you to join us by listening to our weekly show on all the top podcast apps, both in audio and video format. At 1819 News, the podcast, we are in pursuit of a free and flourishing Alabama. Every week, we're having important conversations with guests from across this great state, all with the goal of equipping Alabamians to be in pursuit of a free and flourishing Alabama with us. New episodes are released weekly. I hope you'll join us.
The Alabama Department of Public Health is offering free radon testing kits for Alabama households in certain counties. Radon is a gas that cannot be identified by smell or sight, but can cause problems to human lungs if it's not mitigated within a home. Radon kits will be offered for 15 Alabama counties where radon is known to have elevated levels. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson with the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. My last message was the report for 2024 real estate market in the River region. According to industry experts, they predict for 2025 we will have more inventory to choose from for our buyers, more buyers for sellers to show their houses to. Here are 5 tips for buyers or sellers in 2025. Number 1, sellers need to price their home at fair market value with the help of your realtor. Number 2, buyers need to be pre-qualified by a local lender prior to shopping for a house to save them time. Number 3, use a certified residential specialist or CRS to purchase or sell your home. Less than 2% of realtors nationwide have this designation. You need an expert now. 4, use someone with 48 years of real estate experience to help you with your largest investment. Number 5, quit waiting. Now's the time to buy or sell. Call Bo Goodson at 221-2883, the Goodson Group, or 551-0225.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. When you call Alabama Home Mortgage, from the moment we pick up the phone, you will hear the difference. We are passionate about what we do. To us, you're not just another applicant. When you call on us, you are trusting that we have your best interest at heart, and we do. We treat our customers like family, and that's why our customers turn into family, coming back to us time and time again. We know you have many options when it comes to mortgage financing, and we appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. We are excited to hear from you. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our passion is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586, 36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1. WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And there at Pest Pro Services, Ashley and that great team are ready to help you out with any and all of your pest control needs. If you go to their website, which I just pulled it up in front of me here, you can see everything they have to offer. But right around the corner, before you know it, it's going to be termite season. And before you have some big problem with those termites, some big costly damage to your property, plus the nightmare if they start swarming around the house, which I've never seen in person. I don't think I want to see in person. Why not, before you have that problem with the termites, get Pest Pro to come out, inspect the property for termites, and put in some preventative measures to make sure you don't have those very costly issues. Now, if you do have those issues, they can, of course, help you with an infestation, but it's best to be at the head of the game with these sorts of things. And, of course, Pest Pro Services serves residential, like homes, households, but they also will serve small businesses if you're looking for commercial work, also do fungus control, or from the ground up, literally, they can work with new construction. And, of course, they can help you with any and all pests. It's not just termites, ants, beetles, roaches, and, of course, stinging insects, in particular those big old wasps that seem to haunt me, not only through the day, but through, well, my dreams. Y'all check out Pest Pro Services today. We'll tell you a little more about them a little later. But Pest Pro Services, great local folks. When you work with them, not only will the job get done, but they're also local in the sense that your money's going to stay here when you spend your money there with Ashley and the team. So call them today at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or, you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services, and be sure to tell Ashley that Joey, that guy on the radio station, sent you. Now, as I mentioned to Judge Napolitano, the doomsday clock has been moved closer. This is the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. They say, welcome, 2025 doomsday clock announcement. Okay, already there, just with that, it seems way too put together, way too buttoned up. It's like if we're really facing a crisis in the same way, I think this was started back during the Cold War. It wouldn't be this nicely put together with this nice little graphic and, welcome everybody. Now we're going to scare the crap out of you. But here's their attempt to do just that, to scare the crap out of you. Hold on.
Hold on to your butts.
Thank you all for being here today.
Is that Bobby Kennedy? Oh, no, that's just another raspy guy. Sorry.
It is the determination of the Science and Security Board of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists that the world has not made sufficient progress on existential risks threatening all of humanity. We thus move the clock forward. In setting the clock closer to midnight, we send a stark signal. Because the world is already perilously close to the precipice, any move towards midnight should be taken as an indication of extreme danger and an unmistakable warning. Every second of delay in reversing course increases the probability of global disaster. It is now 89 seconds to midnight.
Oh, and they've got a little graphic with a bunch of nerds.
This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight.
Who in industrial design school designed that crap for y'all? That's not even a real clock. That's just like a big piece of some plastic that you painted a clock on, and it doesn't even have numbers. How do we know it's 89 seconds other than you say it's... I don't buy it. Of course, we're always dealing with the threat of geopolitical conflict as wars rage through, say, the gate between East and West in this world is pretty remarkable. If you look at where the hot spots are, that rubbing up against, let's say, East and West, that old-timey understanding of the world kind of holds, doesn't it? So yes, there's geopolitical conflict. There are more and more advanced weapons. If you read their breakdown, they also go into a long thing about climate change and how we need to work together to stop all the problems from climate change. They go into the development of new technologies like artificial intelligence, which I think it is going to be a bit of a, race. One that I don't necessarily trust. The whole idea being that in order to catch up to somebody else, so you don't have the money, or you don't have the manpower, or you don't have the underlying technology like the advanced chips that everybody seems so desperate to get a hold of. And we're seeing this with this latest DeepSeek AI breakthrough. The idea is that you don't have the money, you don't have the manpower, you don't have the latest tech, so you are going to cut corners in order to catch up to the competition. News came out today that now ChatGPT is working with the U.S. government. Maybe David Sachs is responsible for this, but U.S. government officials can now use a unique form of ChatGPT where they can put in sensitive information and have the large language model known as ChatGPT help them assess all the problems that they're facing that the public may or may not know about. So that's going on. So what do they say? It's climate change, geopolitical conflict that just continues to fester, and it's AI, the breakthrough. They brought up disease again. They brought up more and more disease. Well, on that front, I say, hey, stop doing gain-of-function research. You're going to sit here and be like, well, here's a little welcome, and let's have a bunch of nerds, turn around this little industrial design display, and there it is. It's 89 seconds to midnight. Why are you smiling?
Night. This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight.
The closest we've ever been to midnight. So maybe we should stop it with the gain of function stuff. That might help. Maybe we really get our arms wrapped around artificial intelligence. That might help. The idea that we're all going to come together as one globe and solve climate change. Are y'all high? I know you're a very prestigious scientist, but I think you're high. And when it comes to geopolitical conflict, who knows? Who knows? Not even the people sitting in the White House, including President Trump himself, sitting in the Kremlin, sitting in Beijing or Tehran, Pyongyang, let alone Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, or if you're Egypt right now, or the King of Jordan, you're like, I don't want the Palestinians. They'll, you see how Gaddafi, all that went down with him. I don't want to be the next Gaddafi or the next Mubarak that we replaced here in Egypt. So things are on edge. Certainly. And not even the folks looking to solve the problem necessarily really know what's going to come up and really know the consequences of their actions. But I have to say this. For all the worry and woe, which I have plenty, it is refreshing to see a new sheriff in town. It is refreshing to not only see a new president, but to see a team who's young. A team who's ready to make their mistakes on the world stage. Because nobody's perfect, and certainly not in this wacky world of politics. Mistakes will be made. But I would rather it be people in their 30s. Maybe it's because I'm 30-something that I'm biased in this. Oh, well. But people in their 30s, people in their 40s, at deputy positions all throughout the government, Deputy Secretary of State, Deputy Department of Defense, working in OMB and all the changes they're making, a bunch of young, talented people coming in, especially from the tech space. This incoming Trump administration did not have that same talent pool they're pulling from in 2016. Nowhere near it. You also not only have people coming from the smart set, coming from tech, you also have a lot of folks that have worked in D.C. They're young people. They're just trying to climb the career ladder. They might have been Democrats. They might have been more establishment Republicans, but they were 20-something years old when Trump first gets elected. And they're like, yeah, orange man, bad. And then they saw what the majority of Americans saw over the last few years. And they realized, you know what? Not only is he not bad, he is orange, but he's not bad. In fact, I think I have an opportunity here. And it is always going to be an uncertain future. You'll always have nerds with way too much time and money on their hands. It's 89 seconds to midnight. That'll always be there. But at least now you have a new generation, strangely being put in place by the oldest president, at least elected, in our history. And it's time for that new generation to have a go at it. Again, mistakes will be made. But I would rather take mistakes of folks having their first at bat than the same mistakes that have been made decade after decade, generation after generation. Mistakes that really, if you keep making them, are they mistakes at all? Or were they always the plan? We'll manage this problem. We'll manage that problem. We'll manage Israel and Palestine. A two-state solution's right around the corner, don't you know? They've said for a few decades, generations now. Yeah, we're going to solve all these problems. Well, at least it's time for not only a new sheriff, a new president, but a new team to actually tackle these things. We're done with the same mistakes made over and over again over the last few generations. It's time for a new set to stand up and try to tackle this world. Often a tragic world, but that's where heroes are born. And villains, too. We'll see what shakes out. And as much as it gets depressing, I admit it, it's depressing at times to see the constant back and forth. Like, there was something about the election of Trump, his swearing in, the inauguration last week, that was really fun. Exhilarating. Seeing the changes, not only the great story of Trump's comeback, him surviving, nearly having his head blown off, him winning elections after they're trying to throw him in prison. They've thrown everything at him, including the media. But it's beyond just Trump. It's seeing this new world being built by people like Elon Musk finally sticking his head up and saying, you know what? I think what we've been doing here as a country has been wrong. And you know what? Not only do I think it, and I'm going to put my money on the table by buying Twitter, I think a lot of you also believe the same things. And you've either been cowardly or you've been cowed. You've been put in your place to stay quiet. And Elon said, I'm not staying quiet anymore. Trump said many years ago, I'm not staying quiet anymore. And the beautiful thing is there were a lot of Americans who had been very silent for years. Well, they're not silent anymore. It's a beautiful thing to see these changes. And the inauguration really put a, chef's kiss on that. I think that's just, what a moment. Mm-hmm. Especially catching Zuckerberg looking at them things. Woman just hanging it all out there. A lot of fun. But as the week goes by, and you start to see, okay, we're going to have this committee hearing and that committee hearing. We're going to start to see the reactions to all the crackdowns on immigration. Really, you're crying over deporting violent criminals? No, you're just crying over the hypothetical, like, everybody who's here just wants the better life. All right. Sure. But then something sank in. There's a part of me like, I'm tired of this. I get tired of it. It's depressing to see the constant back and forth between so many of these yahoos up there in Washington, D.C., and don't get me started on here in Alabama. It's not only depressing, it's also boring, which maybe is a worse sin than anything else. In politics, you can get away with all sorts of sins, but if you're incredibly boring, what are we even doing here? We're not even having fun while we're in the midst of all this horse trading. So as I get all introspective, I find myself thinking, I'm much too familiar with all this. You know, that feeling like I've heard it all before, I've seen it all before. That's a terrible thing to think, especially when you're in your mid-30s. Hey, have you heard this line of thought? Yes. Yes, I've heard it. Hey, did you see this? Yes, I've seen it. But you got to remember there's more to life. Even more to the things that you're all too familiar with, overly familiar with. You're done with it. You're burnt out. Got to step back. Again, after covering politics day to day, day by day, for more than a decade, I've discovered that sinking into a maddeningly stale state of mind is one of the easiest things in the world. Watch the political scene long enough, and eventually the intrigue stops being all that intriguing. No matter how catchy and captivating the melodies the political players sing, you grow tired. Your head and heart aren't in it, and you feel as if you're watching the same old song and dance again and again while feeling it less and less each time through. Like, Bobby Kennedy's about to have his hearing this week and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, here comes some, scandalous accusation from a family member that he's a predator. It's like, yeah, I think we've seen this before. The regular rhythms and refrains of modern politics, the poll-tested talking points, the scripted speeches, the contrived sound bites, the ideologies and isms too numerous to name, the endless appeals to tribe and ideals, as well as the incessant shouts of hypocrisy, hype, and blame, they can become all too familiar, enough to drain the drama out of the political stage. Consume enough propaganda and you will feel downright depressed. Again, I say it. Almost inhumanely numb to the cold and calculated vices of this infernal political machine. I suspect this is in part because the aim of modern politics, but also the corporate systems, seems to be to spread conformity and dependency amongst men at all costs, to reduce men to a series of easily predictable habits and anxious desires as consumers, voters, and donors, to squeeze out any dangerous novelty among men that might challenge the status quo, all while obscuring the undiscovered mysteries of the world by supplying familiar answers from some authority on high, well, who's still south of heaven. The modern ruling elite seem bent on reducing men to their preferred outcomes through a top-down conditioning of men's habits, our habits. Control man's nature by controlling what is familiar to him, and a more perfect world, for whom we may ask, is just a few familiar habits away. If only this were true, and not a primrose path to hardened hearts through hardened habits. Hardened habits can easily become a peculiar form of madness, one that slowly wrings the mystery and strangeness out of life, leaving life too neatly hung out to dry on the line of our routines, beliefs, and conventional patterns of thought. Our hardened habits become our madness when they trick us into thinking that we truly understand the wide world and ourselves because of what is already familiar to us. So how do we shake it? How do you shake this madness? How do you enliven your life up? Get out of this spiritual just rut, this torpor. By attempting to see the world anew. See it through. Into the unbelievable heart of things beyond the demands of the day. Consider that you may not fully understand the familiar things you take for granted. Whether it be the habitual vices of modern politics or an old song you once loved as a kid. Revisit them again and again until madness and sadness relent to some surprise or new discovery. Consider that there is always something new to be found even in the most familiar of things, especially in the people you take for granted, even the politicians you deeply distrust. A new perspective, a new reason, horizon or frontier. A new potential you may have missed or initially lacked the capacity to see. So that's where I'm at. I'm mad. Not like angry. Like going cuckoo. Because you see it day after day. The same tired, tried and true tactics. The great thing is, the more you look through these familiar tactics, see it through, see the people for who they are, and you speak up, like Mr. Musk, like Mr. Trump, like so many others, like Bobby Kennedy, you'll be rewarded, and you'll start to say, Maybe there's a reason I fell in love with this in the first place. I'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Honey?
Yeah?
Do you think it's safe using all these extension cords?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Actually, too many extension cords can be dangerous. Call Crosby Electric to add new outlets.
Sure is dark in our yard.
Good. We'll sleep better.
Maybe you will.
Crosby Electric does landscaping lighting for beauty and safety, as well as security lighting for peace of mind.
Oh, darn. The vacuum cleaner just tripped a breaker.
Honey, never vacuum while I'm making popcorn.
Tripping breakers can indicate a potential fire hazard. You really should have it checked out by Crosby Electric, serving the river region for almost 50 years.
Sweetheart, are you ever afraid that lightning could damage our electrical system?
Afraid? Come on. No. Maybe we should call Crosby. You know, just give him a call.
Whole house surge protection can protect you and your possessions. For an assessment and for all your electrical needs, call Crosby Electric 272-2085 or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
Hi, this is Jason with Wholesale Hunter. We've been advertising with Blue Water for a while now. We have great results with them. Appreciate everything they do with us.
Radio reaches over 90% of everyone in the river region. Shouldn't your ads be out there where your customers are? Call us to find out more. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. Following yesterday's 3% loss, the Nasdaq is looking to recover from a sell-off prompted by word that China-based DeepSeek has developed a low-cost AI model, potentially undercutting American-based tech giants. Boeing posted a fourth-quarter loss, $3.8 billion. A machinist strike and other problems continue to plague the troubled aircraft manufacturer. $2.96 billion in red ink for General Motors the final 3 months of last year. Lockheed Martin earned $527 million in the fourth quarter, exceeding Wall Street's expectations. It looks like grocery shoppers will have to wait a while longer for egg prices to start to come down. Prices have more than doubled since the summer of 2023, and millions of chickens are still being slaughtered every month because of the bird flu. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network is brought to you by Ernest Financial.
If you're tired of losing your money in the stock market, call David Ernest, 334-279-7431. Ernest Financial, LLC.
All in all, pretty good weather news as we end January and begin February. As our new milder pattern begins, a good bit of sunshine today with a high temperature near 60. Partly cloudy tonight, down to 40 for the overnight low temperature. We'll be in the upper 60s on Wednesday and Thursday with a sun and cloud mix. Friday's high 74, risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday afternoon, Friday night. On Saturday, there could be an isolated shower left over, perhaps high 68, and we'll tease 70 degrees by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Whether you're buying a home or auto or consolidating debt, CB&S Bank's personal loans get you where you need to go. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you or apply online today. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Live local talk, the River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. This part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And there at Montgomery Men's Health, they're ready to help you men out, you fellas out. Especially if you've been noticing, I just don't feel myself. Now, this can happen, especially as you get older, start hitting middle age. You just don't feel like you have that edge you once had. You're haunted by past memories of your younger self when you could go all day, all night. You didn't complain. You just got the job done, fellas. Well, but you're lacking energy. You're always tired, physically and mentally, just exhausted. Also seeing loss of muscle mass. And it's not like your activity levels have changed. You're also seeing unwanted weight gain. You get a little thicker around the middle. Not like you're eating more. You also are never in the mood. You have no life force, no libido when the time strikes. Well, all this could point to low testosterone. And knowing whether you have low T is huge in combating a lot of these issues. And the providers there at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And if you do, in fact, have low T, Montgomery Men's Health has low T treatments that can truly change men's lives. Men after treatment can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym, brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, usually even notice an increased libido. And you can actually book the same day that you call. Call them up today, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or you can always go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today. So we have some breaking news. Caroline Leavitt, if that's how you say her name, Caroline Leavitt is now giving her very first press conference in the White House briefing room as the press secretary for the 47th president of the United States, Donald John Trump. And Trump promised, remember, I think he promised this on many occasions, to tell folks a little about the drones. You remember the drones that were over Judge Napolitano's property, that were all over the Northeast, they're over military bases, there are drones everywhere. We don't know what they are. Honey, get the shotgun! Well, Caroline Leavitt has the scoop. Let's listen in.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
So there wasn't some Iranian mothership. It wasn't the Chinese. It wasn't, those weird aquatic aliens below, under the sea. I'm starting to think maybe Little Mermaid was pre-programming. No, it was the U.S. government and a bunch of other folks. Why wouldn't they just say that? Look how easy that is. Well, now there's going to be more questions like, what research? What exactly were y'all doing? How much are you now actually spying on people over their property? Analyzing all sorts of things. So maybe that's why they didn't bring it up, because that little statement she just made there, it just begs more questions. I got to hear it again.
From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones.
Yeah.
After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
So it's just the American people's curiosity getting the best of them. Yeah. Not surprised there. And I kind of I'm just being able to read the closed captioning. Caroline Leavitt seems to be holding her own. You never know with a new, and that's one thing I said at the beginning of the show here. My little monologuing. Look at her. Beautiful, young, smart, go-getter lady. Wearing a big old cross necklace. It's a cross, not a crucifix. She must not be Catholic. Maybe she is. I don't know. Hard to tell these days what a true Christian is, isn't it? Politics seems to be driving a wedge through all that. But this young person, you never know how they're going to do until they're in the actual job. From what I can see, she seems to be holding her own and not falling for the same traps that spicy Sean Spicer fell for. Also breaking, the Senate has confirmed Sean Duffy to be Transportation Secretary. So, woohoo. No good for Sean Duffy. Coming up this week, we have Tulsi Gabbard, as well as Bobby Kennedy and Kash Patel, all facing senators this week. That should be immense fireworks. I wonder how much, though, of Tulsi's hearing will actually be public. They better not be voting secretly. They better not be holding that hearing secretly. Or well, we're not going to do anything other than be very upset about it and be like, yeah, you are who you are. We knew it. In order to protect the American people, we must constantly keep them in the dark about what their government is doing. If we start telling the truth, they might ask more questions. Like, what were you doing with all those drones you authorized? Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. I'm just doing a quick rundown here. Mexican cartel fires on U.S. border agents in Texas. Tom Homan is fighting back against critics, saying they're not going to apologize for enforcing the law. They're going to enforce the law without apology. But the one that really caught my attention, a story that really caught my attention, because as I said earlier, you know, the back and forth of politics and the scandal and like RFK's an awful guy. He's a predator, say the people that were hailing him in 2008. So, you know how it works. It's just all BS and it's bad for you, folks. So I look for stories, even if they're just a signal of decline, because I think this is like a big old flashing red light. Like, I mean, big. Like, bigger than any of the big old women I saw waiting for their crispy, crunchy chicken the other day at the convenience store. Like, a big old flashing light. Like a 489-pound red light. That's the story that came out today. There is a rapper, a lady rapper. Oh, my God. She really is 489 pounds. Folks, if you're not watching,
tells us she was just.
If you're not watching the stream, if you're not watching the stream, try to imagine what I'm assuming is about being generous 5'4" woman who's 489 pounds. How many cameras are on you, lady? But this rapper, I think her name is, what's her name? Dank DeMoss. I don't know her music. I'm sorry. Not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying I'm ignorant of it. Dank DeMoss is her name. She's apparently a rapper. And she wanted to go do something. And she called for a Lyft, like Uber, but their competitor Lyft. She called for a Lyft taxi, essentially. And apparently there was a problem. And now this 489-pound woman, she literally is as wide as she is tall. She's going to be charged a lot more to buy the same T-shirt everybody else is buying from Gulf America in the Floribama. This is what occurred. Why are you suing Lyft?
Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
Believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
For every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
No, I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough. Dank DeMoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
I just want them to know, it really hurt my feelings.
It looks like a Lyft might be hurting pretty soon, too.
I knew it was illegal, and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, John Marco and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Weight is a protected class in Michigan by law? She's 489 pounds. I'm sorry, I forgot to check the tire pressure. I'm a little tardy on it. So my tire pressure's already down. I didn't anticipate the change of the weather and the pressure changes out there. And I'm already a little worried I'm about to hit rims. That's like 3 people in one person. And by the way, this lawyer right out of Central Casting has just sleazed back that nasty ass hair. But it's apparently being overweight is a protected class. This is in Detroit, by the way. Let's keep listening. What does that even mean?
2.
I knew it was illegal and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, John Marco and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, I don't want to have black people in my car, or I don't want to have Christians in my car, or Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
The lawsuit is filed. Since she posted the encounter on social media, other full-figured folks have reached out saying the same thing happened to them.
Under the law, it's the same. So the Alabama legislature could pass a law saying the earth is flat. It would not make it so. It wouldn't. So you can say that's the same. But it's not. Wow. She said her feelings were hurt. I think she's going to be okay. Though she probably shouldn't read the comments on the internet. Most folks saying she doesn't need an Uber XL. She needs a Uber XXXL. Triple X. Not in the naughty way, like just big. 489 pounds. She's literally as big as tall as she is wide. She's massive. I can see the guy, and by the way, the car she's trying to get into is like a little, like Honda Civic. It's not a big car. Anyway, Dank DeMoss, if you want to look up the story yourself. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Yes, sir. My name is Brandon Golden. I was trying to see if you all had any information on why the PD and Sheriff's Department is at Lee High School and surrounding the building.
That's just happening?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any information other than what you just told me. Must have just occurred then.
I was wondering if they was locking the Mexican school children up.
If you believe certain news outlets, that's exactly what's going on, right?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. No, I don't know what's going on at Lee. I hope everybody's all right. But if there is a police presence there, maybe not. If y'all have any information and want to give it to me, 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. I got to hit a very quick break here. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Sweet Creek Farm Market. And you got to get by Sweet Creek, folks. Because Reed Ingram, Karen Ingram, the team there have just put together a beautiful, absolutely beautiful establishment. And if you go to Sweet Creek's Facebook page, go ahead, type in Sweet Creek Farm Market, like their Facebook page for updates. Because they're always showing you, here's the little gifts, the little Alabama-made goods that you can find at Sweet Creek that you're not going to find anywhere else. Or maybe you're looking for some great music during the weekend. You want to have a cup of coffee, get a little grocery shopping done. Whether you're looking at that award-winning cafe or you're just looking for some of the basics like milk and eggs, butter, meat, or you're looking for some sweets and you want to listen to some great blues music as you enjoy a sandwich out there. Sweet Creek is the place to go. Of course, they're just 2 miles south of Taylor Road on Highway 231. Again, it's a great spot. If you haven't been, you're missing out. Reed Ingram has created the place to be there at Sweet Creek Farm Market. And when you find Reed Ingram there, please find him. Tell him that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. We'll be back after 30 seconds here.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Are you happy with your IT support company? Do they resolve your company's computer issues quickly, or do they leave you down and frustrated? You need your computers working and problems resolved quickly and permanently. GTI is different. GTI has a high standard of affordably supporting and protecting businesses like yours since 1999. Call them now at 819-4650, 819-4650, or visit gtinow.com.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. The Romex Angler's hanging out today on the comment section on the YouTube stream. Just search for Joey Clark Live there. He's saying, I bet the airline would charge her for extra carry-ons. Yes. Now, she ain't fitting in just one seat. Or if she is, she's got like superpowers to like scrunch herself in, like an octopus or something. Dankdamas the octopus. Contort herself in all sorts of which way, so don't be discriminating against her. 489 pounds of her all, or else we'll sue you. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. 272-9228, especially if you have any information on what's going on around the old Lee High School. Again, that's 334-272-9228. The White House is now saying Houthis have attacked U.S. ships. Huh. Maybe the doomsday clock folks are right. Or maybe the Houthis don't know about, say, the new leadership in town. Trump is also now claiming he has the power to fire anyone in the executive branch. I like it. Keep pushing it, move fast, and push the envelope as quickly as possible. So you got Houthis firing on U.S. ships. You've got all the outrage over deported illegals. I mean, y'all need to save your tears and theatrics. Seriously. Because if you're crying over, like, some of these heinous criminals being removed from the country, you're jumping the gun. You're revealing yourself to just be prone to theatrics, which listen to me. I'm quite aware what theatrics are. It's quite amazing that you've got folks already trying to do these little games, the immigration porn, the outrage porn. And folks, we're getting wise to that your displays of so-called weakness and soft-heartedness, your tears, you aren't going to be able to use them as your weapon anymore. I'm sorry. Though I would tell folks on the right, never underestimate folks on the left. They play victim. I mean, a lot of y'all on the right do too, but they play victim like Oscar winning, if anybody still watches the Oscars. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hi, Joey. It's Pat.
Hey, Pat.
I went down Ann Street about 10 minutes ago heading home, and what it looked to me like it was like a show and tell for the police that day. The county sheriffs, they had a bunch of cars there and motorcycles. The city cops were there. I mean, there was probably 25 vehicles there. So, and people are just walking around talking and everything.
Okay,
so it looked like kind of like a take your cop to work day or to school day or something like that. You know.
Well, that's a very good thing. It's so good.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's not worse.
Yeah. So anyway, have a good one.
Thank you, Pat. Got to hit the top of the hour break. First, this part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And they're the Goodson Group. Bo and his team are ready to help you whether you're looking to buy or sell your home. They're here in the River Region real estate market. Bo's been working in the Montgomery and surrounding areas for nearly half a century now. And at the Goodson Group, not only can they help you with buying and selling your property, they have management services available should you want to rent out your home. And the Goodson Group is also home of the Bo Goodson Real Estate School. It's the crown jewel there. It's one of the most highly acclaimed and accredited real estate programs here in the state of Alabama. Very interactive course. Bo is bringing that 50 years of experience to bear. He's been through it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so you can learn direct from him before you even hit the ground running. And then the real proof of how good the Bo Goodson Real Estate School is all the folks who have graduated and gone on to hit the ground running with great success, whether as more knowledgeable private players or as fully licensed real estate agents. So y'all check out the Goodson Group today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. Great sponsor of the program. Just seeing here what Romex Angler's throwing out there. What did the rooster say to the duck? Oh, no. You ain't good looking, but you sure know how to strut. Good body every morning. We'll be right back.
From the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Sean Duffy confirmed as Transportation Secretary, giving him a key role in President Trump's administration. Duffy, a 53-year-old former Wisconsin congressman, was approved on a 77-22 vote in the Senate. Duffy promising safer Boeing planes and less regulation. President Trump says Microsoft is among the U.S. companies looking to take control of TikTok to help the popular app avert an effective ban that could kick in April. U.S. consumer confidence dipped for a second consecutive month in January. The Conference Board said its consumer confidence index retreated in January to 104.1 from 109.5 in December. Consumers had been increasingly confident until the past 2 months. The Dow up 174 points, the Nasdaq adding 346. This is SRN News.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Making America Great Again starts with making America healthy again. I lost 40 pounds with the PhD weight loss and nutrition program, and 2 years later I haven't gained a pound back. I started the PhD weight loss and nutrition program because I needed to be healthy to keep up with my crazy schedule. Most people start a weight loss program to get healthier. So why is Big Pharma spending millions to convince you to use their weight loss injections that do just the opposite? Do your homework. Weight loss injections have harmful side effects and lifelong dependency. Take a natural approach that isn't connected to Big Pharma's bottom line. PhD changes the way you think about food. You'll learn to quiet cravings and finally release the unhealthy belly fat. PhD weight loss is leading the charge to make America healthy again. Text the word healthy to 717767 or visit myphdweightloss.com. That's the word healthy to 717767. It's worked for me. It'll work for you. 717767. Text the word.
Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
All in all, pretty good weather news as we end January and begin February. As our new milder pattern begins, a good bit of sunshine today with a high temperature near 60. Partly cloudy tonight, down to 40 for the overnight low temperature. We'll be in the upper 60s on Wednesday and Thursday with a sun and cloud mix. Friday's high 74, risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday afternoon, Friday night. On Saturday, there could be an isolated shower left over, perhaps high 68, and we'll tease 70 degrees by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More is your low-price leader for everything you need for flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies. For the best prices on luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, flooring installation supplies, and more, shop Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories. Montgomery Mayor Stephen Reed will give his 2025 State of the City address tonight at 6 p.m. The address, in which Mayor Reed will lay out his administration's priorities for the upcoming year and discuss achievements from 2024, will be held at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. The Alabama House Republican Caucus has ratified its Alabama Values legislative agenda for the upcoming session, prioritizing specific conservative initiatives for the state's Republican supermajority to push in 2025. First on the Alabama Values list is job creation and workforce participation. The 2025 legislative session begins next Tuesday on February 4th. The Auburn Tigers are number one in the AP Men's College Basketball poll for the third consecutive week. Bruce Pearl's 19-1 Tigers were the unanimous choice at number 1, claiming all 62 first-place votes in the new poll released Monday afternoon. Alabama at 17-3 remained at number 4 in the new poll. The Tide and Tigers will meet for the first time this season on February 15th in Tuscaloosa. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Door serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best and service the rest.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is a Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to the program. You're listening to Joey Clark Live. You can always watch online at Joey Clark Live on YouTube or at the Joey Clark on X and Facebook too. I don't really like Facebook. Even after Zuckerberg's supposed mea culpa, I still am not a huge fan of the place. Maybe it'll open back up. Maybe I need to give it a new try, like I was saying earlier about things all too familiar. Now, before I get into a little bit of Trump as the history teacher on taxes, somebody reminded me tonight, I believe the mayor of Montgomery, Stephen Reed, will be giving the State of the City address. I believe at the Shakespeare Festival. Beautiful venue to do that. Good choice there. But I wonder what he's going to say. It should be available to watch all over YouTube. The city has started streaming everything they do a while back. So I'll be watching. And then tomorrow, I believe we have City Councilman Andrew Szymanski for his monthly visit. Look forward to having Andrew in. And we can react to the mayor's speech as well as other things going on in the community. I think finally that we did land on and making interim chief Jim Grayboy's full-time, took too long, but the right choice. We'll see how that is going to go into the future. And, of course, there's still chatter around the upcoming legislative session about a big crime bill package, and I need to get Reed Ingram in here to discuss all that. I've not forgotten about the local stuff, but like I ranted about earlier, sometimes you'll get a little boring. And that's worse than, even raise taxes. No, it's not worse than raise taxes. I didn't mean to say that. Raise taxes is worse than being boring. If you're boring and you want to cut my taxes, I'll take that. But the optimal spot is you're really entertaining and interesting, and also you want to cut my taxes till it's a big goose egg of what anybody owes. Now, here is Trump, the history teacher. Gave a big old speech last night at the Congressional Institute. I don't even know what that is. And at one point, he again started teasing this idea that we're going to get rid of the IRS, we're going to have the External Revenue Service, and that the richest point in the country was when we had no income tax, and we used tariffs. Let's listen in to President Trump. The fact that he keeps floating this out there, and as you listen to this, ask yourself, would you trade higher tariffs, maybe a general tariff, for the elimination of the income tax? Would you make that trade? Let's listen in to President Trump.
America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know, the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money. And that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
I seriously, when I think about it, okay, we're gonna raise taxes. He can say, oh, it's on foreign nations. It does get passed on. There are also some other interesting effects of, spin-off effects of what happens when you throw a tariff in there. But it is raising taxes. So you're like, I don't want to raise taxes. But we're going to raise those taxes and we'll get rid of the income tax. I'm like, yeah? Wait, so you're saying no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. There's a lot of people pushing the idea if you're a kid, like if you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you're out there working, you shouldn't be taxed at all on any of your wages. So like, I like that idea as well. So why not just make it where we don't have any income tax on anybody? We'll just raise revenues through a general tariff system. I'd make that trade. I don't know if you'd make that trade. I'd make that trade. And if you're like, well, the tariffs are too high even after we have the income tax, I'm like, well, maybe we'll lower the tariff a little bit. Sounds good to me. Well, what about government revenue? I'm like, well, why is that always a good thing? It's not. It's a huge wasteful boondoggle. A lot of this stuff that's happening. And when they treat something like $30 billion or even something like $100 million, but if they treat, say, something like $30 billion as a rounding error in the federal budget, that's a lot of money to the everyday person, like $100. You can do a lot if you're trying to make ends meet with $100. And you start chipping away at this budget and you start to realize how much money has been taken from people by force of law and redirected into wasteful programs. That is to say, taken from some people, given to other people to do unproductive things that often undermine the very people they're taking the money from enjoying their lives. We need to get back to this idea of getting the government out of the way, especially when it comes to actually organizing ourselves in this society. So I think a fair trade, we don't have to go full like libertarian or anarchist or whatever. A fair trade is like, if you want to get rid of the income tax, sure, go ahead, Donnie. I mean, President Trump. Let's make a deal. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey, that was fantastic. I fully agree with everything you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an old guy. One of the things I always heard is if you don't want it anymore, tax it, right? And if you don't want other countries taking advantage of you, you throw the taxes on them because all the benefit is to them. All right? Now, it's not nationalism like, hey, we don't want to do business. We want to do business. It's just, hey, I'm not going to subsidize the damn business.
Mm-hmm.
You see what? Anyway, that's how I think, but and it's just an opinion.
Yeah,
From
no,
one
that's cool,
brother.
man. That's what we do here.
And Joey, your montage was fantastic, brother. I'll see y'all later.
Later, Robert. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey.
Hey, Jim.
Jim.
How you doing?
Hey, have you had a chance to look at any of the press conference?
A little bit. I was reading the closed captioning live.
What a change. And you were talking about wasting money.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was asking her about some of the, she was talking about some of the stuff they've stopped already that was fixing to go out. $50 million to Ghana for condoms.
What?
$50 million to Ghana.
For condoms?
For condoms. What in the world? I mean, that's serious. I mean, that is unbelievable. You talk about wasting money. And also they caught about $40 million going to WHO, which they immediately canceled that. Well, hell, I mean, that's over. But, I mean, and there's probably things a lot worse than that, Joey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, much worse. And especially if you start going, I'm very hopeful about this whole Doge project. I really think the idea of embedding little Doge teams in every agency of the federal government, I think people are going to be shocked at how quickly they move on the technological efficiency side. Like, why are we still pushing paper like this? Here's a software system that one of our geniuses spun up yesterday. Let's implement this. To the legal side, I think I was worried because Vivek was kind of pushed out, and we got to interview him clarifying that stuff. But I think a lot of the legal things Vivek was pushing are still at play as well, like firing federal employees. And if you start chipping away, I think the savings is probably at the end of the day going to be over $1 trillion.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a big man. And I'd like to see this on these new press conference, White House press conference. If they would put the names and the companies these reporters work for, so we can catch who all the Karens are. And I mean, you heard they're going to start bringing in people from these other media sources.
Yeah, the Daily Wire's there today has a report.
Yeah, and they're going to put them right on the front.
Beautiful.
And they're taking applications for anybody that does the news, and it's new. You got to be a news reporter on some of these alternative sources, and they're going to bring them in.
I think it's awesome.
And I mean, that's great. And the 3 people that they had today asked the best questions. Then when they went back to the regular media, it was all these Karens. Yep. Oh, you're going to do this, and you're going to. I mean, good grief.
Right. But it's changed. What do you think of the new press secretary? Because, like I said, I could only read the closed captioning. What do you think of Caroline Leavitt?
She speaks to them. She does. She only looked at her notes a couple times, and that was to read some official statement put out by the president recently. I mean, it's different as night and day. I mean, good Lord, this woman is sharp, and it's going to be exciting. Plus, it's going to weed out all these whiners in there, like Jim Costa. Bye, Jim. See you.
Yeah.
He's crying on his way out. Hey, I've got a request for a local thing here. For a guest.
Yeah.
Could you bring on Kyle Whitmire so I can call in and call him a jackass on the phone?
I'll think about it.
I mean,
I like to think I can have a good conversation with anybody, even people I disagree with. But if he's ever on, it's fair for you to call him whatever you like.
Yeah, that guy. Oh man, and I'm looking for this. The next 4 years is going to be kind of the demise of a certain news organization that has an A and an L and a dot and something in it. Yeah, all this, it's not going to work anymore. It's not going to fly. So should be a booming year for the 1819 news. So.
Looking forward to it. And I appreciate the call, Joe.
Yeah. All right, have a good one.
272-9228. Again, if you want to get in on the conversation. This part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And they're a full-service jewelry shop, if you're not aware of it. Dillon Rings, they can do it all, whether it's custom design work or spa treatments to clean up that jewelry, make it shine and shimmer like it's brand new, repair work, maybe one of your favorite, like bracelet or necklace, or a gemstone comes loose in a great ring. Like, it broke. Well, he can fix it. And, of course, they have an amazing inventory there. A lot of great items in stock. I'm looking at a short here. Josh holding within his hand, his fingers. And it's an 18 karat diamond bracelet. You can see on the video here, like, how it changes and, like, shimmers and shines when it moves. That's when you want jewelry to really sparkle, to be truly ice. That's the way to go. This bracelet he's showcasing in this video is normally $2,599, but you tell the folks there, Dillon Rings, tell Josh and Leslie that Joey sent you, and you can get it for $1,800. Normally $2,599, you can get it for $1,800. Offer only good until February 8th, and only one in stock at that price. So just say my name if you want this beautiful diamond bracelet. Absolutely. Go check it out on their Facebook page, or just stop by 119 Brown Springs Road. Do it now, because only one in stock. Won't be there forever. Get by 119 Brown Springs Road, just off of Atlanta Highway, kind of on the back end of AUM, right before Taylor Road, where the old fun zone used to be. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie again that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. Now I want to go back to Trump at the Congressional Institute. And here's, Trump talking about making history, not just being a historian, talking about William McKinley and tariffs and all that. But Trump saying we're making history. How so, Mr. President?
We made historic strides with youth, men, women, urban, suburban, and rural voters. And in a political earthquake, yeah, sit down, just enjoy it. What the hell? We're going to be here for a little while. But in a political earthquake, we won a wave of support from labor unions, including massive numbers of auto workers, which gave us Michigan as an example. Think of that. We won Michigan easily, and we did tremendous with the auto workers. And an overwhelming majority of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. The Teamsters were great. They showed up in droves, and we won them by a lot. Together, we're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing. Before common sense, it is a little bit of common sense. Maybe it's a lot of common sense. Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become the proud voice of hardworking American citizens.
Wait, I got to hear that again. That's just too good. We're rebuilding, we're shattering the New Deal coalition?
We're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing. And what Mike said before, common sense. It is a little bit of common sense. Maybe it's a lot of common sense. Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become the proud voice of hardworking American citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. We become the party of the American dream and wealth creation for everyone, not just the rich. If we do our job over the next 21 months, not only will House Republicans be reelected and expand our majority in 2026, we will cement a national governing coalition that will preserve American freedom for generations to come. There has never been anything like what's happened in politics in the last few years.
If you want to do big things, you got to call your shot, and that is Trump calling a shot right there. And, you know, earlier when I was talking about we now at least have very young people, a younger generation, I was thinking it hasn't been this young. It's still a lot of old-timers making old bones there in the U.S. Senate in particular. Man, Lindsey Graham's looking puffy lately. Like puffy. I don't know what's going on with you, Lindsey. Starting to look old, man. But generally speaking, especially look at the House of Representatives, you look at a few senators, like one of our own, or you look more at the executive branch and these appointees, especially the deputy secretary level. But even the full-on secretary, look at Pete Hegseth, look at Tulsi Gabbard. You're talking about people in their 30s and 40s. It hasn't been that young since the 1930s, since that New Deal coalition that shaped American politics and solidified it through the victory in World War II. And people have played mostly, there have been changes here or there, but people have played mostly within those boundaries. And that coalition, well, it's about time we change things up. Sometimes the house needs renovations without getting rid of necessarily all the foundations. Maybe you're actually returning to the true foundations as you remodel the place. But I love Trump thinking big. Whoever wrote that speech, good on you for writing it. I think this is the exact right approach we need. Now, Trump also said something that I went, huh? Maybe. Could we do that? What sort of deal is he working on? Remember how Australia got started? Or how some of the southern states in part got started? What, they were like prisoners or indentured servants in that case here in this place. But yeah, it was like Australia was a prison colony, right? Well, here's Trump at that same event, that same speech, just throwing this idea out there. You know, as we're talking about all these illegal immigrants that have committed heinous crimes being deported, here's Trump pushing the envelope.
They're very dangerous people. They're violent people. I used to say these are more violent than our criminals. In fact, the best part about them is they make our criminals look quite nice, actually, by comparison. They are very violent people. We also have many violent criminals in our country, however, that did not necessarily come here illegally, but have been arrested 30 times, 35 times, 41, 42 times in a couple of cases, 25 times, 18 times, many for murder and other heinous charges such as pushing people into subways. As the train's coming along at 45 miles an hour, boom, you get pushed into the subway. They had it last week. Hitting them in the head with baseball bats while they're not looking, punching old ladies in the face, knocking them unconscious and stealing their purse. They even break into apartments and rape elderly women and beat up elderly men, beat them to hell. And I don't want these violent repeat offenders in our country any more than I want illegal aliens from other countries who misbehave. And I say, and this is subject to getting it approved, but if they've been arrested many, many times, they're repeat offenders by many numbers. I want them out of our country. I also will be seeking permission to do so. We're going to get approval, hopefully, to get them the hell out of our country along with others. Let them be brought to a foreign land and maintained by others for a very small fee as opposed to be maintained in our jails for massive amounts of money, including the private prison companies that charge us a fortune. Now, let them be brought out of our country and let them live there for a while. Let's see how they like it. You'll see crime all over the country dry up. Essentially, that's what Venezuela and other countries are doing. They're getting rid of their criminals and putting them into the United States of America. And their crime is down by almost 80%.
Yeah, look at El Salvador.
We're going to restore law and order in America, and we want to bring back the death penalty for these horrible people that kill people. They kill people. It's always a tough thing to say because I don't like it. Nobody likes it. But if you don't do it, we're just looking for trouble.
So again, we've just begun. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing, and there at Cole Plumbing, James and the team are ready to help you out with any and all of your plumbing needs. Could be it's a big leak. Oh no. Like the big leak. Like the ceiling's about to fall through, the carpet's soaked. It's like you've got a, like, is this a swamp, a marsh out here in the backyard now? Whether it's a burst pipe inside or outside your home, Cole Plumbing can help you out, and they have proprietary pipelining technology that allows them with minimal discomfort to you and your home to get in there and solve the problem. And that means they're not going to tear out a bunch of drywall, dig up a huge hole in your yard. No, with precision expertise, they can fix those things. And they can help you with everyday plumbing problems, clogged drain, low water pressure. Maybe you need new devices installed, new accessories added in the kitchen or the bathroom. And it could be you want to upgrade to a tankless water heater system or just nicer things in general. Cole Plumbing can help you do that. So call them up today. Make an appointment today at 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole. 272-9228. Again, if you want to get in on the conversation. This is going to be quite fun. Quite frustrating at times, too. But it does feel like, especially that idea of we are breaking the New Deal coalition and building something new that represents all of America. That doesn't just represent people in Alabama or in the South. It doesn't just represent white people, but represents a lot of Americans from all across the land, of all different backgrounds, who started to see the same thing. And they didn't want to speak before. They didn't think there was a way out. They thought this is what they have to deal with. But as soon as other voices started speaking up, you saw the rest follow. Again, I'm looking forward to all this young crop coming in, these young guns coming in. I'm looking forward to seeing them make their first mistakes, because they will be made. But at least it will be new mistakes, unlike the ones we've been making for decades now. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Adams Drugs has been committed to the health care of the people of the River region for over 62 years. We value the trust each customer has in our pharmacists, techs, and entire staff. If you have not experienced the difference of Adams Drugs and are not satisfied with the customer service that you get in the big box stores, we invite you to visit any of our locations and see how committed we are to your satisfaction. Adams Drugs offers a variety of services that you will not find in all pharmacies in the River region. Personalized compounding, area-wide delivery, wellness screenings, immunizations, medication consultations, and specialized packaging, just to name a few. Visit us at our website, adamsdrugs.net, and find the location nearest you. Adams Drugs has 12 convenient locations to serve you. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Adams Drugs is your local Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. an equal housing lender.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where over-the-road dump truck drivers are needed right now. Home twice a week and every weekend. Must leave early on Sunday with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call them now at 855-777-9785.
All in all, pretty good weather news as we end January and begin February. As our new milder pattern begins, a good bit of sunshine today with a high temperature near 60. Partly cloudy tonight, down to 40 for the overnight low temperature. We'll be in the upper 60s on Wednesday and Thursday with a sun and cloud mix. Friday's high 74, risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday afternoon, Friday night. On Saturday, there could be an isolated shower left over, perhaps high 68, and we'll tease 70 degrees by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Now, I want to get a little more granular about all this stuff I've been ranting about today. In particular, Mark Andreessen, who's sort of the one of the geniuses behind the tech boom going all the way back to the early 80s. Like, founded a lot of the early web browsers. In fact, I learned from this interview, a portion I'm about to play, with Lex Friedman, that he was one of the first people all the way back in 1982, as he was getting going with the web browser. You know, think he's the founder of Netscape, for instance, and he created one before. The name's escaping me. Sorry, I'm not born until 1988. It's all in the past, right? But because he was one of the first people in the game, yeah, this must have been in the early 90s after Netscape, he had government officials come to him and said, can you build into your web browser a thing that stops any nudity? Because even back then, in the early days, in our salad days there of the internet, there was a lot of porn. A lot of porn. It helped birth the internet in many ways, as well as payment processing on the internet. Ew. Isn't it funny sometimes you think about, like, all the nastiness underneath great achievements of mankind? Yeah. Anyway, Andreessen, they were like, hey, could you build into your web browser that everybody's using a way to filter out nudity? So even if people try, they ain't going to find naked people. And number one, he didn't have the technical know-how how to do that. I mean, how are you going to write code and an algorithm that actually accounts for that, especially when you're talking in the early 90s? Just didn't have the ability to do it. Number two, right then and there, that early, Mark Andreessen said, nope, we're going to stick with free speech. And again, keep in mind, Andreessen is not some guy who's like some deep red state conservative. Andreessen was part of the Clinton administration early on, worked with them. He was very much a Democrat most of his life, from Silicon Valley. Like everybody else almost out there, we're Democrats. And yet you're starting to see this change. And the man who really stuck his head out first in a big way, you might say Trump. But Trump was running for president, and you kind of just have to stick your head out there anyway, if you're doing that. But of the folks that you would have least suspect, you have to say in this, last few years, it was Elon Musk who really changed the game when he buys Twitter. So Andreessen here with Lex Friedman's going to go through, because he had that experience being in Silicon Valley from the beginning. Being, I think he and his Andreessen Horowitz, his investment firm, he was on the board of Twitter. Mark Andreessen was. He's on the board of Facebook. He's on the board of Instagram and on the board of this, that, and the other. Like, he's seen the changes within these companies from the ground up and how people's minds have changed, especially politically. Let's listen in. This is, again, Lex Friedman with Mark Andreessen.
You've mentioned censorship a few times. Let us, if we can, go deep into the darkness of the past. So you are a good person to speak about the history of this, because you were there on the ground floor. Take me through that if you can.
Basically, the government, over time, and then culminating in 2020, 2021, in the last 4 years, just decided that the First Amendment didn't apply to them. And they just decided that federal laws around free speech and around conspiracies to take away the rights of citizens just don't apply. And they just decided that they can just arbitrarily pressure, just like literally arbitrarily call up companies and threaten and bully, and yell and scream and threaten repercussions and force them to censor. And there's this old thing of like, well, the First Amendment only applies to the government; it doesn't apply to companies. It's like, well, there's actually a little bit of nuance to that. First of all, it definitely applies to the government.
Yes.
Like 100% the First Amendment applies to the government.
Yes.
By the way, so does the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment, including the right to due process.
They don't always stick to that, Mark, but keep going.
Also applies to the government. There was no due process at all to any of the censorship regime that was put in place. There was no due process put in place, by the way, for debanking either.
Yep.
Those are just as serious violations as the free speech violations. And so this is just like flagrant unconstitutional behavior. And then there are specific federal statutes. It's 18241 and 18242. And one of them applies to federal employees, government employees, and the other one applies to private actors.
241 says, they pulled it up on the screen, it criminalizes conspiracy between two or more persons to violate civil rights. And 242 of the U.S. Code says it makes it a crime for anyone acting under color of law to willfully deprive individuals of their constitutional or federal rights. Seems like a pretty good law. Let's keep going.
Around what's called deprivation of rights, and conspiracy to deprive rights. And it is not legal, according to the United States Criminal Code, for government employees or in a conspiracy private entities to take away constitutional rights. The government employees, for sure, have misbehaved. The companies, there's a very interesting question there as to whether they are victims or perpetrators or both. They will
both.
Defend and they will argue, and I believe they have a good case that they are victims, not perpetrators, right? They are the downstream subjects of pressure, not the cause, not the cause of pressure.
And this is the argument, by the way, if you've been listening to the show faithfully, and thank you for that if you have, that Eddie and I have been having. As you see this mea culpa by Mark, if you can call it that, by Mark Zuckerberg, and I've always definitely thought it of Jack Dorsey at Twitter, that these folks were essentially, they created these great things, but because they're producing so much money and because their control of information is so powerful, the ramifications for power with these things being created, that very swiftly the hooks started to be driven in. And at first they were like, well, I kind of like the hooks. Like everybody here is a Democrat, but I think Andreessen's going to lay out the case. Are they perpetrators or victims? The companies themselves, big tech themselves.
But there's a big swath of people who are in the middle, and specifically the ones that are funded by the government, that I think are in possibly pretty big trouble. And that's all of these third-party censorship bureaus.
Yep.
The one that sort of is most obvious is the so-called Stanford Internet Observatory that got booted up there over the last several years. And they basically were funded by the federal government to be third-party censorship operations. And they're private sector actors, but acting with federal funding. And so it puts them in this very interesting spot where there could be a very obvious theory under which they're basically acting as agents of the government. And so I think they're also very exposed on this and have behaved in just flagrantly illegal ways.
So fundamentally, government should not do any kind of pressure, even soft pressure, on companies to censor.
Can't.
Correct.
Not allowed.
It really is disturbing. I mean, it probably started soft, lightly, slowly, and then it escalates as the old will to power will instruct them to do. Because you get. I mean, that's why there's protection, because you can't put a check on power for government, right?
There are so many ways that they can get you. Like there are so many ways they can come at you and get you. The dynamic played out online, which is you had absolute conformity on the social networks, like literally enforced by the social networks themselves through censorship and then also through cancellation campaigns and mobbing and shaming, right? I think basically two things broke it. One is Substack. And I'm super proud of those guys because they started from scratch and declared right up front that they were going to be a free speech platform. And they came under intense pressure, including from the press, and that tried to just beat them to the ground and kill them. And intense pressure, by the way, from, let's say certain of the platform companies, basically threatening them. And they stood up to it. And, sitting here today, they have the widest spectrum of speech and conversation, anywhere on planet Earth. They've done a great job. And it's worked, by the way. It's great. And then obviously Elon, with X was the hammer blow. Elon sticks his hand up and says, the emperor is actually wearing no clothes, right? That famous parable, right? So one person stands up and does it. And literally that person is standing there by themselves, and everybody else in the audience is like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen to that guy. Right. But again, nobody knows. Elon doesn't know. The first guy doesn't know. Other people don't know, like, which way is this going to go? And it may be that that's a minority position and that's a way to get yourself killed. Or it may be that that's the majority position and you are now the leader of a revolution. And then basically, of course, what happens is, okay, the first guy does that, doesn't get killed. The second guy does, well, a lot of the time that guy does get killed. But when the guy doesn't get killed, then a second guy pops his head up, says the same thing. All right, now you've got 2 leads to 4 leads to 8 leads to 16. And then as we saw with the fall of the Berlin Wall, this is what happened in Russia and Eastern Europe in 89. When it goes, it can go, right? And then it rips. And then what happens is very, very quickly, if it turns out that you had a large percentage of the population that actually believed a different thing, it turns out all of a sudden everybody has this giant epiphany that says, oh, I'm actually part of the majority.
Yep.
And at that point, like, you are on the freight train to revolution, right? Like, it is rolling.
And like I said in the first hour, as much as it is depressing to still see the old tried and true tactics of a political era that is slowly dying, it's dying a very slow death, too slowly, in my humble opinion, you are seeing a lot of these folks, as Andreessen just said, have an epiphany. And if you listen to the whole podcast, he lays out a lot, more of the history, where a lot of these folks, especially when Obama comes into office, the Obama folks were the first ones, David Plouffe, were the first ones to embrace, essentially, technology, embrace social media. They were able to scale up, as Andreessen says, the ward system of Chicago, where you have that one ward checking on everybody in a certain area. They're able to scale that across the country, to where you're constantly in contact with voters in different communities and keeping tabs. And everybody working in all these Silicon Valley companies we're all Democrats, so we'll all do the great thing. And then his claim, and it smacks of truth, is it's during COVID that a lot of these folks working in these companies, Facebook, Twitter, they were kind of fine to go along with, well, let's ban hate speech. Let's have fact checkers to fight lies and misinformation. But when the misinformation became about, like, say, the lab leak theory, which what the CIA just confirmed it again, that's probably what happened. Well, you used to have accounts destroyed, just be banned. And it was then you cross that line where it's like, oh, you can't just say, like, we can't just ban naughty words. It becomes, no, we're just going to call anything we don't like, anything that's inconvenient to the narrative, to the yarn we're weaving, misinformation. That's when a lot of people in these companies started to go, And they didn't know if they could safely, again, stick their neck out, speak up, raise their hand and go, I don't think it's true. And in many ways, I think you got to credit Trump. But looking at Elon Musk, I mean, this is, I think, in many ways, a historic moment. Y'all remember this moment, right?
And you're clarifying this now. But there's a public perception that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
But
go f*** yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
He's in the audience. That's the moment where the kid goes, the emperor has no clothes. And the emperor, so to speak, the establishment that still holds some of the levers of power, they're going to keep acting like, no, we're not naked. Look at my beautiful, beautiful clothes. Look at this beautiful train here. But the epiphany has happened. Again, is it going to be utopia or perfect? Of course not. I'm going to keep repeating it. I'm looking forward to seeing new people with a new understanding make new mistakes, as opposed to us making the same mistakes we've been making for generations now. It's about time. And we've only just begun. We'll be right back.
Want to carry news talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the River region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
For more information, send an email to digital@BlueWaterBroadcasting.com.
For many children, stability is something they have never experienced. At the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches, we offer hope, healing, and a family to children in need. But behind every success story, our house parents are the heart of our ranches. We're looking for compassionate couples to join our mission. We provide housing, medical benefits, a 401k, paid vacation, and the chance to make a lasting difference. The Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches. Be the love, be the guidance, be the family they need. Visit alsyr.org.
The premier place the River region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. This entire hour of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you. And it's whether you're looking to buy a home or refinance that home, now is the time to at least have a conversation there with Kim and Madeline to understand, well, how much house you can afford if you're ready to hit the ground running and shop here in the River Region real estate market, or if you're looking to refinance to get credit card debt off your back, or it could be you're looking to invest in your property, invest in your family, yourself, go on a big vacation, and it's money you built up, and they can help you get that deal done if now is the right time. And they can really help you. If you're having trouble deciding, should I pull the trigger now? Call up the experts there. And this also includes veterans. I know there are a lot of veterans still out there who don't realize there are a lot of VA home loan benefits that you earn through your service that are available. Alabama Home Mortgage is always hip to the latest with the VA home loan programs, and it's the best deal in town. See, I'll call up Kim and Madeline today at Alabama Home Mortgage at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the line. Apply on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. Now, the Elon Musk moment, I think, is very true of the tech world and of the sort of bleeding edge of technology and investors and all these folks fascinated about building the future. But I think the moment that really swayed the election was something nobody planned. And this was one of those moments, because I've been complaining now for a while that a lot of our politics is stale, like we're reenacting, like we're play acting at politics. We haven't actually got our tea wet in a long time, in the sense of they actually threw the tea into the harbor in Boston. We haven't done that in quite a while. And I think the moment that really did change everything of the election was the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on Donald Trump. Matt Taibbi, who's been one of those just great reporters over the years, where he's loved by the Democrats, loved by the Republicans, because he's just got a perspective and he's going to stick to it. He doesn't care who he pisses off, without fear or favor. And they're wondering, this moment that really did, I think, change the election for everybody. It's the moment Elon endorses. It's the moment Zuckerberg's like, that's the most badass thing I've ever seen. You start to see, I think, Joe Rogan come on board at that point. You start to see a lot of the so-called bro space, like, really know this new media that's being built up, actually come on board. Despite all their problems, like, well, I don't want it to be like a Republican of old. And it's like, nope, we're building a new party here. Matt Taibbi sat down with Tucker Carlson, and they're wondering, why don't we know more about this moment? How did it just go away all of a sudden?
Then there's the whole question of the investigation of the Trump assassination incidents. We heard nothing about that. It was the most extraordinary news story that I've ever, I mean, apart from the disappearing president and the mysterious nomination and COVID. Presidential candidate and ex-president gets shot, and the story's dead within like 48 hours. And all you read in the news from the FBI, there are these comments saying that they don't have any motive evidence. We've done 100 interviews, but we don't know anything about why this happened or, what was going on there. Do you believe that? I have a very hard time believing that. Right. Yes, exactly.
And it is a very typical American story where one day you just wake up and decide to die.
It's like your first joint. Yeah.
Your first joint. Yeah.
And then the second one, I mean, the Ryan Routh thing, that's not weird at all. Like, I just flew into Florida last night. I don't think I could have gotten my hands on, a Chinese-made SKS semi-automatic rifle without help. I mean, I don't know. That's being a little conspiratorial, but look, there were a lot of...
met with members of Congress. He lived in Ukraine. What? And we know that our intel agencies working through the Ukrainian intel agencies have murdered all these people and tried to murder all these people, including some I know personally. And so that's just a fact. And he was there with them. But this had nothing to do. And by the way, are those the only 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life, do you think, during this campaign season? I don't think so.
So why don't we know
more about that?
I don't know why we don't know more about that.
Yeah, right. So, and I've talked to the Trump people and Trump himself, and I'm being sincere. I really don't have a sense of what they think of all of that. I know that in public they haven't been anxious to talk about it at all.
So I've talked to some of them, and I've heard a lot of anger about this. That and I think this is the impetus for these investigations. I think probably the second attempt was the last straw for some of the people on his staff, and it's part of the reason why I think they're going to be very public about this.
It can't come too soon. I really think, and I will say, whatever people watching think of Trump, I know for a dead certain fact that a lot of the people who work for him really like him personally. So I think they are mad about it.
They're very mad about it.
Yeah, they are. And that's the thing. Trump's been kind of quiet about what happened. Like, he's told the story. He's taken all the big things out of it. But you haven't heard Trump making a lot of hay over who actually did this. Who is actually Thomas Matthew Crooks? Why did he do it? Why was I shot in the air? Why is my head almost blown off in front of God and everybody? That's being investigated. And as I just said, you better believe, I think it's going to be aired out quite publicly. We got the final hour coming up here. Plenty more to get to, especially preparing for the nomination hearings of Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy, as well as Kash Patel this week, which I look forward. And I love that both of Alabama's senators are in full support of the whole cast of characters. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Trump signing a new executive order focusing on the military. One of the orders directs the defense secretary to revise the Pentagon's policy on transgender troops, likely setting in motion a future ban on their military service. Sean Duffy confirmed as transportation secretary, giving him a key role in the Trump administration. Duffy, a 53-year-old former Wisconsin congressman. Parents enrolling children in Oklahoma public schools will be required to provide proof of their child's U.S. citizenship or legal immigration status under a proposed rule that was approved by the State Board of Education. The board voted unanimously to approve the rule, which still needs to be approved by the legislature and the governor. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 74 points. The Nasdaq adding 329. This is SRN News.
Making America great again starts with making America healthy again. You know, I lost over 50 pounds on the PhD weight loss and nutrition program. Nearly 3 years later, I've kept it off. You know why? Because I trusted Dr. Ashley Lucas and the terrific team at PhD Weight Loss. They've been making America healthy for over 10 years. Millions are being spent on weight loss injections that have harmful side effects and lifelong dependency. Do what I did. Take the natural approach that isn't connected to Big Pharma's bottom line. Based on science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose weight and keep it off. You'll learn how to quiet the cravings, finally release that unhealthy belly fat. You won't be hungry, and you're never going to be taking a medication. How many pounds do you want to lose in 2025? PhD Weight Loss, leading the charge to make America healthy again. Text the word healthy to 717767. Just text the word healthy to 717767 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
All in all, pretty good weather news as we end January and begin February. As our new milder pattern begins, a good bit of sunshine today with a high temperature near 60. Partly cloudy tonight, down to 40 for the overnight low temperature. We'll be in the upper 60s on Wednesday and Thursday with a sun and cloud mix. Friday's high 74, risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday afternoon, Friday night. On Saturday, there could be an isolated shower left over, perhaps high 68, and we'll tease 70 degrees by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More is your low price leader for everything you need for flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies. For the best prices on luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, flooring installation supplies, and more, shop Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
1819 News.
A second language teacher within the Mobile County Public School System appears to be planning to obstruct federal law on immigration. The teacher sent out an email that was signed with the initials KP, in which she referred to herself as the mother of exiles and asked staff at the school to text her if any agents from Immigration and Custom Enforcement show up for illegal alien children. The email went on to list the various ways to shield students from an ICE raid. School officials are now saying that this was not an official email representing school policy and was sent without seeking guidance from the school administration. President Trump's border czar, Tom Holman, is currently rounding up criminal illegal aliens for deportation and spoke with Fox News, saying that is his focus.
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. Once we lock that border on continuous operation, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, illegal alien crime decrease, sex trafficking decrease. It's just all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward.
I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Are you enjoying 1819 News? If so, consider joining 1819 News as a member. As a nonprofit news organization, we depend on the support of Alabamians like you. Memberships start out as little as $5 a month, and you'll get access to exclusive content only offered to our members. You'll be supporting independent journalism done by people who cherish Alabama values. Become a member today by visiting 1819news.com and clicking Become a Member. That's 1819news.com and click Become a Member today.
Governor Ivey has appointed Rachel England to be the next district attorney for Marengo, Greene, and Sumter counties. England has already been working within that office as the assistant district attorney. England will replace DA Greg Riggers, who is now retiring, and she will become the youngest serving DA at the age of 29. I'm Andrea Tips.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Survey gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacin-capted Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, or as we call this show online, Joey Clark Live. And I'm sure, as you might have just heard at that top of the hour report from 1819 News about how Mobile County Public School System employee attempts to shield illegal students from possible ICE raids. And there's a whole hullabaloo over this. Like, oh no, what's going to happen to the children's? These cruel, cruel people. It's like, really? When I saw this story, I sort of rolled my eyes, and we now have clarification. Erica Thomas reporting at 1819 News has just dropped a second ago, saying, since President Donald Trump took office, the federal government has taken sweeping actions to send back criminal aliens over the southern borders, we've all seen. Images of Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents making arrests are circulating social media and causing alarm among certain communities. In Mobile County, an internal memo within the county school system caused alarm after a teacher shared a quote-unquote to-do list on shielding students from agents. The unauthorized letter has been rescinded, but misconceptions have already developed out of it, of course. Retired Homeland Security agent Angelo Fermo of Baldwin County cleared up some rumors and explained the political push behind them. Fermo said Trump was making right on his campaign promise to get rid of criminals here illegally. However, he said the idea that the feds are planning to bust up schools and raid homes to take children from their mothers is false information. That's the left media pushing these scare tactics into these communities, Fermo claimed. From my 20 years of experience with immigration issues, the main thing we were focusing on is you're looking for the criminal immigrant in the community. Their agencies are not activated out there targeting these children or these women and stuff because that in itself creates a whole mess of problems. Fermo said that the only immigrants targeted for deportation are criminal immigrants, and in most cases, they've been deported previously and continue to come to the United States to commit more crimes. What I'm seeing right now is actually a more aggressive approach than in the past with immigration, but I see that they have to do it because of the open border policies that we've had for the last 4 years. It's kind of just unheard of. The former administration was just letting them in at a mass rate and just processing them through as quick as they could and releasing them into the interior of the country. So what you're seeing now is them having to double their efforts. Fermo said children will likely be present during some law enforcement operations because ICE is not always aware of how many children a person has and when they will be around children. However, he is unaware of any school or church raids planned by the federal government. They're looking for the criminal immigrants, but you're going to have your encounters. Like if an officer stops somebody for speeding or drinking and driving and a child is with them, I mean, that's just the way the system runs and how it is. DHS says the Trump administration's efforts are already paying off at the Mexican border. Border Patrol encounters decreased by 35% within the first 3 days of Trump's inauguration. Now speaking live is Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Secretary. As these raids continue to ramp up, Kristi Nunn was seen in a photo op, seen alongside armed ICE officers in New York City as they were doing raids. Of course, we saw raids in Boston earlier. One of the arrests made recently was one of the guys that held up that whole apartment complex in Colorado. Was all the way in New York City, I believe. Nuts. And yet the theatrics already begin. The crying, the worry and woe that we will hide them under our floorboards if necessary. You hysterical children, calm down a little bit. If the Trump administration sends armed federal agents into churches and elementary schools, maybe you got a moment then. An inciting event where you can run out and all of a sudden we'll be saved from this terrible fascist or whatever. But when you're putting on these theatrics already, when what they're rounding up right now are some of the worst of the worst, it makes people tend to think you're full of crap. We're on to the game, and I've seen it before in my life on a personal level. That sometimes you have to call out somebody's BS even through their tears. Those of you who've listened to the show a long time, you know I don't love conflict. I try to have everybody understand each other, maybe to a fault. Maybe you would like more conflict. I'm just being me. But there are moments where instead of your instinct to sort of console or listen to or feel sorry, at least some pity or sympathy for somebody who's bawling their eyes out because of some awful thing, sometimes you have to go, oh, stop it. You're full of crap. You're crying because you want something. You're crying because it gets you attention. And this is especially true, not if you're legitimately crying in your bedroom or in the closet somewhere alone, but when you set up your phone or webcam, or you sit down in a podcast studio and you start bawling your eyes out, people tend not to believe you. They tend to think, again, this is contrived, this is ridiculous, and if you're that upset over some of the worst being deported, you're showing your hand. But it's long been the case of we'll make our weakness or our displays of weakness. We're so marginalized. We're so put down. We're so without. We'll use that as our strength. We learned it from Gandhi and MLK. And that's the mistake you're making. You can't just keep doing that playbook. That playbook works at certain times in certain circumstances. But when you keep running that playbook, you're making a mockery of people that engaged in, say, nonviolent resistance. You're making a mockery of it. Maybe you really believe it. Fine. But for all the folks already hysterical, you're either just straight up full of crap, looking for attention, or you've been trained to bark when the dying corporate press tells you to bark. It's either way. You can take your choice which one it is. Again, maybe you really believe it. But I don't buy it. Stop jumping the gun. And in fact, there are a lot of, let's say, anti-establishment, more populist Democrats. I'm thinking of, like, say, the Young Turks types, who are saying, yeah, y'all need to slow your roll here on the reaction. Because, again, nobody's going to believe you if you're crying at what seems like fairly common sense stuff to do. And creating specters in the mind and then sharing them all over the world. So this whole, an internal letter is sent within Mobile, just shows like how rotten the abscess growing within public education, not only in this state, but across this nation. An abscess that nobody really sees, but occasionally you feel it. You're like, ooh. And it's going to burst on us one day. If it hasn't already started to leak out. Ew. That's how I think of that. Those institutions. Ew. Maybe the feeling is mutual. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the program. Again, this part of the program brought to you by Ashley and that great team there at Pest Pro Services. Really looking forward to having Ashley and Zach and many other members of the team start to join us in studio here before too long so they can, tell some tales of actually getting out there and protecting people's homes, protecting people's businesses from pests, from fungus. And by pest, I mean ants and beetles, centipedes, and flies, and wasps, mosquitoes. Termite season's right around the corner. Ooh. Or ticks or rodents. They can handle all of it. That whole list of pests that you might be thinking of. They're all, especially if you look at them too closely. I get creeped out about it. I know some of y'all are out there and you kind of like this stuff. Not me. And I think the average person's like, no, I don't want that in my home. I'll watch a video on it. I don't want that in my home. Pest Pro Services can help you across the board with this stuff. And before there really is an infestation, before you're like, why do I have this many cockroaches? Well, no, the termites have eaten through. Why not go ahead and make Pest Pro Services your regular pest control company and prevent a lot of that stuff? Just call them up today at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or again, you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. These are great local folks. Spend your money here locally, and they'll make sure your house is jam up and jelly tight, as the song says. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. I guess nobody wants to talk today on air. I mean, I can just keep on trucking. With a TR, I said that, trucking. And just keep on moving along. Because the next big fight is going to be over Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy Jr., and Kash Patel. You're already starting to see some movement out there. For instance, Anna Matson is her name. Anna Matson, great follow there on X. She has put together a little preparation, a little briefing before all the fireworks come later this week. She says, be prepared. Every single Democrat will say RFK Jr. is not qualified, but they won't tell you the truth. Here's everything RFK Jr. has done in his career that makes him fully qualified to run HHS. Of course, he's the son of RFK, who's a former U.S. Attorney General, comes from that family. Actually, I think the Kennedy name is a detriment to the guy. But attended Harvard. Got his JD. He became a law degree, Virginia Law School, one of the oldest in the country. Masters of Law as well. Co-founded and supervised Pace Law School's environmental litigation clinic. So a lot of academic stuff. What did he actually do? Kennedy received a special permit from New York to allow 10 law students to practice law against Hudson River polluters. Indeed, he's the guy who cleaned up the Hudson River. Riverkeeper projects and restoration and restores the Hudson River from sources to sea and safeguards drinking water supplies. He is the guy that was able to do this, the founder of the Waterkeeper Alliance. It's an organization that fights for clean water across the globe. Democrats have invited Kennedy to talk about this stuff in front of Congress before. They've praised him incessantly. The New York Magazine called him the Kennedy who matters not long ago. He has done many, many things that Democrats have loved for years, and that Republicans are probably like, well, I don't know if I agree with that. And yet, the loudest voices will be from the Democrats. The loudest voices. And it's because, again, when you get on the wrong side of this, whatever this political machine is, it's not about what you believe. It's not about the good things you've done that they liked. It's about now. And you're threatening our power, and you're now working with the other team that's threatening our power, so we must destroy you. We'll see if they actually pull it off. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, I loved your montage. I would say his father did more for the Democrat Party than anybody. He lives in infamy just about. You see what I'm saying? Kennedy, right? And then your own party shuts you out, and you can't run against a derelict president, which is Joe Biden, and sad to see vice president. But anyway, they shoved him out, and he was smart enough to be humble and say, well, not humble, but he went and talked to who is going to win. Right?
Well, he meant it that he wanted a true populist unity party, and
right.
Actually wanted to work with Trump.
And that's, I guess, what I'm getting to is it shouldn't be difficult to get confirmed. In other words, him and Tulsi Gabbard are both Democrats.
Right.
And it's worth listening to why you came from one thing to the other, and both of them will tell you, the Democrat Party left me.
It did more than left me.
But anyway, Joey, I love your montage.
I appreciate it, Robert.
Love your show. See you, brother.
Montage, monologue. For instance, here's RFK Jr. talking about, how he cleaned up rivers, how he got mercury and studied the effects of mercury, especially on children. He was invited in 2008 to speak in front of Congress. The guy who invited him was Ed Markey. He was the chair of the committee who invited him. Now Ed Markey says, quote, Robert Kennedy Jr. is an unqualified, unserious, and dangerous nominee for U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. It's interesting how in 2008 they never called him crazy. Let's just get a sample of this. This is from all the way back in 2008.
About 8 years ago, the EPA announced that in 19 states, it is now unsafe to eat any freshwater fish caught in the state because of mercury contamination. The mercury is coming from those coal-burning power plants. In 49 states, at least some of the fish are unsafe to eat. In fact, the only state where all of the fish are safe to eat is Dick Cheney's home state of Wyoming, where the Republican-controlled legislature has refused to appropriate the money to test the fish. We know a lot about mercury now. According to CDC, there's 1 out of every 6 American women now has so much mercury in her womb that her children are at risk for a grim inventory of diseases: autism, blindness, mental retardation, heart, liver, and kidney disease. I have so much mercury in my body just from eating fish, 2.5 times what EPA is considered safe. I was told by Dr. David Carpenter, who's the principal authority on mercury toxicity in this country, that if a woman with my levels of mercury in her blood would have children with cognitive impairment, with permanent brain neurological injury. Today, according to CDC, there's 640,000 children born in this country every year who've been exposed to dangerous levels of mercury in their mother's wombs. The Clinton administration, recognizing the gravity of this national health epidemic, reclassified mercury as a hazardous pollutant under the Clean Air Act. That triggered a requirement that all of those plants remove 90% of the mercury within 3.5 years. It would have cost them less than 1% of plant revenues, and we know that it works. When they stop emitting the mercury, it disappears within 5 years mostly from the fish and waterways downwind of those plants. But this is an industry that donated $156 million to President Bush and his party since the 2000 election cycle. And their reward was leaders like Mr. Homestead here, who came in and eviscerated that rule and instead replaced a rule that was written by utility industry lobbyists, his own law firm, Latham and Watkins, which ended essentially the regulation, that tight regulation of mercury, and allows these utilities to continue to discharge mercury at huge rates for endless periods of
time. Just listen to that. He's a Democrat. He's always been passionate about this sort of stuff. That was in 2008. But now that certain, say, folks in Congress, Democrat and Republican, are not being paid by, coal plants, but Big Pharma and other healthcare providers, all of a sudden, he's the worst person on earth. And because I read the New York Times every day, I know he's just a wacko bird. One of these days, the people who read the New York Times every day will be considered the wacko birds if they haven't been considered that already by most of the population. That was 2008. In 2016, Kennedy and his team won a huge case, that Roundup case. It secured something like $289 million in a verdict for a California groundskeeper who developed cancer due to exposure to the herbicide Roundup, which triggered many more cases against Monsanto. And as we said earlier, as Trump said earlier, we're building a new coalition that represents a lot of different interests who have common cause in that it is this establishment, this corrupt ruling class that has sapped this country of its energy, of its health, of its pride for too long. Looking forward to seeing Bobby Kennedy defend himself. But I got a feeling it's going to be quite a circus. 272-9228 again if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. How about this? Let's hit a quick break. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 special. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Hi, this is Carol Kennedy with Camo Country, and we've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for many years, and we appreciate Blue Water Broadcasting helping promote Camo Country.
Blue Water Broadcasting is the #1 most listened to radio group in the River region. Find out how to put this reach to work for your business. Call us to find out how we can help. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway, where right now you can get 1,050 square feet of carpet installed for $19.95 only at H&H Carpets in Montgomery.
Rich Thomas Weather. All in all, pretty good weather news as we end January and begin February. As our new milder pattern begins, a good bit of sunshine today with a high temperature near 60. Partly cloudy tonight, down to 40 for the overnight low temperature. We'll be in the upper 60s on Wednesday and Thursday with a sun and cloud mix. Friday's high 74, risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday afternoon, Friday night. On Saturday, there could be an isolated shower left over, perhaps high 68, and we'll tease 70 degrees by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations since we began in 1906. At CB&S Bank, we're here for you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now I want to shift gears here. That I want to go to an interview. It's one of the first ones he's given in a while. Vivek Ramaswamy. He's out of Doge. There's all these rumors he's going to run for governor of Ohio. And he sat down with Jesse Waters. That guy. I guess he's all right. But Vivek kind of gives his least side of the story. Let's listen in together.
You're leaving Doge after like 3 Scaramucci's. What happened?
Well, the reality is I'm pursuing elected office very shortly. We'll have an announcement soon. But Jesse, things are off to a great start. I think President Trump has proven, look at the actions that he took in that first week, the most pro-merit president I think we've had in a long time. And as for my vision grounded in constitutional law and the future of the country, I think it's best pursued through elected office. And I'm confident that they're going to succeed in slashing and burning that federal bureaucracy.
People are saying you didn't get along with Musk. What happened there?
I think that's incorrect. But what I would say is we had different and complementary approaches. I focused more on a constitutional law, legislative-based approach. He focused more on a technology approach, which is the future approach. No better person to lead that technology, digital approach than Elon Musk. But when you're talking about a constitutional revival, it's not just done through the federal government. It's done through federalism, where states also lead the way. So I'll have to be saying more on that very shortly, Jesse.
All right, so Elon didn't fire you.
Sounds like he's running.
No, we had a mutual discussion, and I think that I wish him well. We're on the same page where divide, conquer. It's all of the above, and that's what I'm in for.
When you hear people say that these workers are going to get margs during work hours, what goes through your mind? I mean, how do you doge those people out of there?
What goes through my mind is I'm not surprised. I mean, the fact is you've got 4 million federal bureaucrats, none of whom were elected to those positions in the first place. And the dirty little secret is the people we elect to run the government, until this last November, the people we elected to run the government were not actually running the government. That changed when Donald Trump took office at inauguration. You have a U.S. president that is actually running the show again. Look at that sweeping slate of executive orders. Look at fixing the immigration crisis. You had 4 years of illegal immigrants flowing across that southern border. In a matter of 1 week, we're now well on our way to sealing that southern border, ending these DEI programs, restoring merit. That's our American character that we miss, Jesse. And the beautiful part about this is these were man-made problems. We got a man-made solution. Now we just got to execute.
Is DEI dead? Because Al Sharpton, he's still in the trenches.
Well, the funny thing about DEI, we use this word. Ironically, it doesn't even stand for its own principles. In the name of diversity, what happened is we sacrificed true diversity of thought. And in the name of inclusion, we've created this new culture of exclusion where certain points of view just weren't welcome. That's un-American. It was neither diverse nor inclusive. And DEI and merit, you got to pick one. You can't have both. Either group quotas or meritocracy. There's no middle ground. And I think one of the things not just the Republican Party stands for, but you could see vast swaths of the American population stands for, is that we stand for merit over group quotas. That's the American way, and I think that that's what made this country great.
What's happened to the Democrat Party?
They're lost. They're lost in the wilderness. Speaking as an American, I am rooting for a better version of that Democratic Party to reemerge from those ashes.
We are.
Because I think it'll make our country better off to have actual competition.
Yeah.
Right now, they're lost in the wilderness. They bent the knee to the woke left, far left wing, forgetting about the wing that focused on economic inequality. That used to be the focus of the left. They switched to all of this racial, gender, sexuality nonsense. I think they're going to have to figure out their part. That's not my job to figure out. But I think for the Republican Party, having won, I think now is take that mandate and restore the country that we know with free speech, with merit, the pursuit of excellence. We're not victims. We're done with this victimhood culture of the last decade or two in this country. We're not victims. We're victors. We're winners. We don't whine. We win. That's the culture that Donald Trump is leading from the top. And I think that whether it's bottom up from the states or top down from the White House, that's what we want to see in this country.
I love it. And love hearing from that guy. I was a little sad to see him go from Doge, but seems like he's got still a bright future ahead. It's refreshing just to hear him, and you're like, oh yeah, he's still got it. Now, shifting gears again. Bitcoin continues to be dropped a little bit as everybody freaked out over the new AI coming out of China, DeepSeek or whatever it's called. And then it regained. It's now, above 100,000 as we speak. And the guy who's going nuts, it's a pretty crazy strategy. It seems to be working out for him. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, he has a particular prediction about where it's going.
Don't think that there'll be a drop or a significant drop that comes along? Have we moved past that because of the regulatory changes that have taken place?
I think it'll remain volatile because it's a 24/7, 365 global asset. You can panic sell it on Saturday night. You can enthusiastically buy it on Sunday morning. That's a feature. That's not a bug.
Yeah, you've lived through some of the swings, but do you think we won't see the downturns like we've seen in the past just because of the changes we've seen?
I think it's going to surge through the roof, and then it's going to surge to 180 and crash to 140, and people will be freaking out about it again. But let me make this one analogy. Volatility is like fire, and some people run away from the fire, but Henry Ford put the fire into a carriage via an engine, created an entire industry. And
Saylor going into his historical perspective and all this. I tend to be a real believer in this technology, that it's actually going to change the world in ways deeply profound. The ways that we were thinking about all the way back in 2013 when I first ran into this. This clip is enlightening. This is a guy who really understood Bitcoin early. And I think beautifully, he sort of tipped us out and bowed out of being a public intellectual about this stuff a few years back. But his name is Andreas Antonopoulos. And this is from Joe Rogan in 2016, where he lays it out. And it might make some of you old timers, I hate to even call you that, it might make some of you, some of my elders, it's not much better. It might make some of you go, oh, no, I like my cash in my hand. I like the gold. And I remember the gold and the silver back when we actually had real money. It says it right there in the Constitution. It's based on specie, like we need real money, right? Precious metals. Or at least let's have cash so they can't take it away. And the war on cash. Well, Andreas is going to say, well, the cashless society is inevitable. The question is, what sort of cashless society do you want? Again, this was 9 years ago. Let's listen in. This guy called it.
The problem is we are going to a digital currency society where cash will be gradually eradicated, either through non-use or a lot of countries and a lot of governments are trying to actively ban it. So they're putting limits on how much you can use cash. Say, $1,000, and if it's more than $1,000, using cash is illegal.
That's clearly been happening.
When we go to the society, we have to really think about the implications. Do we want a society in which our digital money is under complete surveillance and complete control, where if you go to the wrong protest, or if you support the wrong political campaign, or if you make a payment to the wrong person or receive money from the wrong person, suddenly your money disappears. It's no longer yours anymore.
And we've seen that. The debanking, look at the trucker protest in Ottawa, in Canada. Think about the debanking that's happened here in this country. And again, he was way ahead of the curve.
And it's seized, it's gone. And someone has control of that. Corporations, banks, governments, and in most cases, there is no difference between corporation, bank, and government, right? And so that's one scenario. And the other scenario is one in which individuals control their money. And it is digital money, but it's digital cash like Bitcoin, where you can pay an individual from one person to another, just like I can with cash today, without any other party getting involved. What really strikes me as amazing is that we've gotten used to this idea so quickly, which is that we no longer pay people. We no longer pay people directly. The less we use cash, the more we pay people through a corporation.
Yep.
Right? So from tipping your valet to tipping your taxi driver to tipping wherever, tipping is pretty much the last remaining part of our society where cash is used to pay from one person who is not an incorporated entity to another person who is not an incorporated entity. Everything else you have to pay through a corporation, whether it's a bank, right? Whether it's Venmo, whether it's PayPal, whether it's any of those things. And we've gradually gotten used to this environment where we can't pay another person unless there's a corporation involved. And that's astonishing to me. And as cash disappears, that then becomes a final fact, that every single payment in your life will be from you to a corporation.
And that corporation takes a piece of that, every single thing.
And not just that, it doesn't just take a piece, it also controls and surveils and monitors your use. And if you violate the terms and conditions, you are destitute.
Wow.
So the issue is not what we have today versus the digital currency of the future or Bitcoin or whatever. It's both futures are digital currency, and in both futures, cash will no longer exist. That is inevitable. We are going down that road. And now we have to choose. Do we go to the digital cashless society of corporate control over money with the complete and total merging of corporate and state money, where instead of having separation of state and money, you have the merging of state and money and corporation and money, where your money is branded money? You have Chase dollars. You have Goldman Sachs dollars. You have Coca-Cola dollars, right? You have money that is controlled by a corporation. Or do we go down the other future, where we have money that is basically an internet protocol that is completely global, that any person can pay any person. They meet in the streets without any corporations getting involved, just from me to you, digital cash. And that's really it's a less optimistic view, because I'm fully aware of what the other future is, and it's already playing out. And it is in my opinion, a very dangerous future.
Man, that guy was way ahead of the curve. Again, that was all the way back in 2016. And it's a mixed bag. Governments don't want to give up that power. They don't want to give up that power at all. I've talked about this before. And you look at China today. They say this explicitly, that money is not a means of securing private property. Money is a means of political authority. Money is a means of political control. In fact, that's been the tradition in that part of the world stretching back centuries. That money was something for the sovereign to issue. So you could do commerce, but also you had to use that particular form of money, or else, off with your head. It was a means of control. And if you take this into the virtual world, the means of surveillance, just by being able to look at what you buy and sell on your own personal balance sheet, look at your credit card statements, for instance, people can learn a lot about you by just looking at what you've bought and at the pace of which you've bought it. It's an immense tool. Isn't that the old thing? They got Al Capone on tax evasion. But in the West, unlike China and the Mongols and more Eastern governments, in the West, there was this tradition of money is a means of securing your private property. This is why things like gold, though imperfect and had a lot of issues, and we maybe could go through them, but gold was at least a less than perfect way for somebody to actually possess it as property. Nobody else could control it. You can't just all of a sudden produce more gold out of thin air. Then, as we get into the 21st century, you start to see what they call the Great Settlement, where banks are realizing, number one, it's really expensive to move this gold back and forth between each other. It really is expensive. Just every time you're sending gold, you're losing gold to somebody else. So we're sort of bleeding out the system. We want to preserve wealth long term. And it was also very slow to move the gold. So it's costing you, every time you move the gold, it's costing you gold, and it's incredibly slow to move it. It's not as saleable as you would like it. So they came up with this idea of, okay, the banks will hold gold reserves, but we'll have these notes. And so, the bank's good for it, and they keep on their balance sheet, so-and-so sent to so-and-so, yada, yada, yada. And that held for a little while. it starts to be chipped away at. I mean, you're talking about the seizure of gold in the 30s under FDR. You're talking about the move to the Bretton Woods system. It used to be if you had that cash, you could go exchange it for gold. That was completely done away with once Bretton Woods comes in. Then only central banks could go, I want my gold. And that's exactly, I believe, what the Germans and French did in the 60s, heading into the 70s. They were holding a lot of dollars, and they said to the U.S. government and U.S. central bank, we want the gold. And that's where Nixon famously goes off the gold window, I believe in 1971. And so money becomes a fiat thing, where it is just, again, it's very much like China. It became just an issue of political control. Now, of course, we have all sorts of legal checks and whatnot of what banks can do, yada, yada, yada. But as we've seen in recent years, as you chipped away from that idea that people could actually hold and possess money as property, to hold wealth in your actual hands or on your actual person or effect, it went from that to what Antonopoulos just described, branded money. It depends on what bank you have. And as we've seen in recent years, there's a lot of folks that if you have the wrong political opinions, maybe you sell firearms, well, now you can't do business with our bank. Or we suspect you of just being an awful, terrible person for X, Y, and Z reason. Well, you're done. And it started being fed into the larger surveillance system that's developed, especially after 9/11. And so here comes Bitcoin. And what I'm seeing now is the government's not going to give up that complete control. But if they do adopt, say, a Bitcoin strategic reserve, I think Michael Saylor's number of 180 grand of Bitcoin in the not too far off future is not crazy at all. But it looks like what's going to happen is the government is still going to control banks. And I think for convenience, a lot of folks will hold their Bitcoin at these different banks. But if push comes to shove, you can, and this will happen faster as people age out, to put it politely, and folks that are used to this technology start using it more and more, people will just hold it in self-custody. So you will still have some surveillance aspects, some government control aspects. For instance, the U.S. government's not going to a pure Bitcoin standard. They're going to keep the U.S. dollar. But I think Bitcoin is going to be a crucial part of this, say, new virtual money society that can be actually held as personal private property and can also be used as a long-term store of value that keeps governments and other players in the financial system from getting too far out over their skis and essentially taxing people through inflation. It's fascinating. I don't know how exactly it's all going to shake out. That seems to be, though, the direction the Trump administration is going is let's embrace this new technology and see what it can do for America and if it can be, well, the crypto capital of the world, as Trump said. 272-9228 if you want to get on the conversation. You're on there. Who's this?
Papa B here.
Hey, Papa B. How you doing?
Hey, brother. I'm doing pretty good. Interesting soliloquy you have here.
Mm-hmm. I've done a few today.
You have, and you're getting pretty good at it, I got to say. Almost like you've been practicing or something.
They make
but yeah, you got a good point. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not getting okay. I got a new iPhone, so maybe y'all can hear me a little bit better. So the money angle, yeah, government is going to have to be government somewhere along the line.
Right.
We've got to acknowledge that. But the total control, tyrannical control, well, yeah, that's what many of them seek, many people. We just can't allow that. Money, though, was not the only thing now that our government has decided that they want to use as a control. Healthcare was a big thing under Obama, and still is now for the social justice left. Controlling healthcare. Well, yeah, that is another form of control.
Absolutely.
All of these, these fiefdoms have their own little power levers of power, I guess. So something has got to be done about it. It looks like things are being done about it. Can't happen fast enough for me. I think they're going to have to figure out a way to kind of wire their teeth shut type thing so that it can't happen again just right away. But it is good to see that, these big post-World War II bureaucracies are kind of crumbling on down, Joey. I tell you, we've been talking about it for years now.
Yeah, but it's
and
happening.
Wondering about it. Yeah, it's actually happening. And what really is heartening to me, it's like the younger generation are the ones that are really driving it. Who would have thought? I thought that they were so, indoctrinated that they would just continue it on, but they're not. The real power for this rebellion, if you want to call it that, is coming from, the younger generation.
It is.
Which I think is really interesting. And, I've told you before that this is the mission of our generation, to undo all of that, that the World War II generation, the greatest generation, they call it, has done, because eventually it just doesn't work. But here's what I would want to ask you about in particular. What do you think may be done to prevent this behemoth from rising again? What do you think can be done?
Oh, good point. I think what you have to do is, number one, move fast, and they seem to be moving fast. And then you have to have the growth and winning, for lack of a better word. Success is the best way to hold back anything like this happening again. If you do these things the right way, and it might, again, you got to move fast because sometimes the follow through it takes a little time. Think about Reagan and them with Volcker breaking inflation. It took a few years before the boom started in the 80s. And so I think if you move quickly enough, you're going to see a boom that's even bigger than the 80s, maybe bigger than the 20s, with the technology that's now coming to bear. And for everybody worried about the AI dystopian stuff, and there are real concerns, I think actually what you're going to see is more jobs out of this, more prosperity out of this stuff.
I think so.
People can't even imagine right now.
I think so. And I think daylight, sunshine is the best disinfectant, for a lot of this stuff. The more people wake up, and once you see it, you really can't unsee it.
Right.
Once you see the deception and the tyranny of it all, you clued in, and nobody can convince you that it's not there, no matter what kind of gaslighting they present to you. And so that's a good thing. I would say one other thing. In the 1960s, with the big social justice movement, it was so effective that right after, say, Dr. King's assassination and, before that, some of the Montgomery March and that kind of thing, that they caught the attention of the American people to such a degree, they rushed to Washington, D.C. to parlay their cause into this ginormous movement, basically inflating, if you will, the power of that movement. And it was successful, unbelievably successful. So much so that they took it on the road overseas.
Oh, yeah.
And it got, some traction there. But now, it's run out of steam. It's run out of power. It's just, dead in the water. And
it's become a farce of itself. I don't know if you heard me covering the story in the first hour. It was a 489-pound rapper who was denied entry into a lift vehicle because the guys like, my car can't handle it. And so they're now suing. It's in Detroit, in the state of Michigan. Obesity is a protected class. And I'm like, we're a long way from the 60s. It
is rotten to the core. And, I'm glad to see it on his way out the door.
Well, I appreciate it, Papa B. I got to run, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
This part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And again, at Dillon Rings, they are a full-service jewelry shop. So whether you're talking that incredible inventory, they have a lot of great items in stock, in store there right now. But, of course, they also have services second to none. So repairs, spa treatment, appraisals, custom design work. And that's, I think, my favorite thing there. If you can dream it up, Josh Ryder can make it a reality. That guy, truly great at what he does. So, y'all check out Dillon Rings today. Get by there. Maybe get a surprise gift. I always say, unexpected gift, unexpected time goes a long way, especially gentlemen. Listen up to that. Unexpected gift at an unexpected time. It's like, it's not even Valentine's yet. It's not even, surprise somebody. Maybe you wait to Valentine's Day, but wait till before Valentine's Day. And they're like, oh my goodness, they're shocked. Get by Dillon Rings, 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money?
Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest.
You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist?
That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839.
I see.
Yes, he is our preferred money man.
The money man with the money plan.
You've been paying attention.
Well, could you give us those numbers one more time?
334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man.
Oh, what's that?
I'm not an elk.
Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you?
Knights of Columbus.
I am not even going to make a comment.
Well, the baby liked it.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt, professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Door serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best in service the rest.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Well, I'm sitting at the paint store trying to get a quart of paint to finish this honeydew list of Angie's that she's had out there for 6 months. I try to do like once every 6 months, so that's a trick Dad taught me years ago. If you do it immediately, she's just going to have one right behind it.
Right. Oh, yes. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah, and then just drag it out as long as possible. But don't do that on your flooring because you don't have to really do anything. We'll handle all of it. All you got to do is make a phone call. There's no energy at all put in this situation. We come out there, we'll give you that free measurement. You pick out the color. You don't pick it. Let Mom pick out the color. And the next thing you know, you got a new floor down. And that project is over with zero headache. How about that?
Just that simple. Again, folks, that number 285-8117. Be sure to tell them when you call up 285-8117 that you heard Ray Bowles here on the radio with Joey. And real quick, how's your dad doing?
He got to go home today, and he said if he faints again, just let him die on the spot. Don't wake him up.
I like him even more now.
Yeah, he don't want to go back to the emergency room. He said, if I do wake up, put me in the car, take me home. If I die, I die. I got better places to be. Do not take me back over there.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear he's all right. That's good.
And he's got to stay home for a week, so he's really dying because they said he had COVID. And he's like, I think they're lying because I feel fine. I'm like, no, you got to stay home, Dad.
Yeah. Well, good to hear he's doing well. Well, I appreciate it, Ray.
Yeah, he's doing great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks.
Again, that's Ray Bowles of Prattville Carpet. And again, that number, 285-8117. Oh, look at the time. I'm out of time. Happy Hour with Greg Vidal. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News.